Hey everyone, thank you for joining us again here on another episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. I'm your host, Justin Allen Hayes, founder and executive director of Voices for Voices. Thank you for joining us. So this is your first episode, or if you've been with us since the beginning, if you can do us a big favor, and give us a big thumbs up on our YouTube, Rumble, um, Apple, anywhere that you consume our TV show and podcast. That's something that is free that you can do that will help us as we continue that work to help 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. The lofty goal, but I'm a just a lofty person uh, with some dreams and that and so that's where that comes in. So thank you for joining us here in the United States of America or anywhere else around the world. Thank you for joining us. One thing as we continue this, or I guess start this episode, but continue conversation that we have we've had, let's say maybe the last 6 months, it's really picked up. Uh, And we mentioned in an earlier episode that, being a U.S. citizen is is awesome, and I don't take it for granted. Our board, our guests, who are, U.S. citizens here, uh, we don't take that for granted. And if you're from another country, I bet you don't take your citizenship for granted. And with that, here in the United States, we have something that's called the Constitution. And it's something that was our founding fathers put together. And there are topics called amendments. And the first one is called the First Amendment, right? So really, really fancy terminology, right? First Amendment, freedom of speech. I cannot like what you say. I can disagree, and that's okay. That's covered under the Constitution, free speech. And so, just as that is the case, so too is the case that I have the right as a US citizen, as do our guests that we have on the show that are US citizens. We have the ability and have that protection of free speech. Secondly, we have something that's called public concern. And part of that is if there are incidents, topics that could really have society, uh, it could it has the opportunity to hurt other people. Uh, and we talk about one in specific. I'm not. We might get into the naming of that, but I am pretty sure that everybody kind of has an idea what that is. But when we're having to worry about our safety as individuals, as families, as Americans, and from if you're outside of the US, for your country too, that you want to feel safe, you want to feel like I can I can go to the grocery store, I can go to a sporting event, a concert, uh, amusement park, and not have to constantly be looking over our back and try to take security measures because individuals are coming after us physically, mentally, and so that's where the public concern comes in. So we're talking about, as I mentioned in an earlier episode, We have that single cheeseburger, that single patty. That's the First Amendment, free speech. Now we have the second. That's the second patty, making it a double cheeseburger or double chicken sandwich. And that is the concern for public safety. And then we have for making that the triple cheeseburger or triple hamburger. Where I'm using this as analogies, uh, where disability comes in and mental health as a disability, mental illness as a disability, depression, anxiety, being autistic. Those things are considered um, disabilities. And so individuals that try to bully people, organizations, again, I have news for you. As I've stated before, I'm going to state it again. I cannot agree with you. I can disagree. Not like, be lukewarm, but it's okay. We there's things that we don't like. There's things that we do like. We have a thing, as I mentioned, called I call it the donut shop, right? So I have that right too. I'm able to share experiences. I have that free speech uh, that you do as well. And you know who we're you're the person and the people that are the first to download our episodes. Uh, One of the top cities, which is just really incredible for all the downloads that Pottstown, Pennsylvania, that shows up ahead of many, 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 many other cities. So we know you're watching, and I can say hi, hi Scott, how are you doing? Are you feeling okay? You feeling not well? Well, you can turn the channel like you do on Netflix or cable. So if you're watching the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast, you don't like what's being said, it's your right to change the channel. But it's also my right, our organization, our guest right to talk about their experiences, especially when it comes to concern for public safety. So, you know, we appreciate your interest, Scott. Thank you for increasing our download rate. We we thank you and any other individuals who decide to include the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast in your repertoire of listening or viewing pleasure. So now we move on to something called the Take It Down Act, which is actually now the Take It Down law. And first off, I want to thank President Trump, uh, President of the United States. I want to thank First Lady Melania Trump uh, for the support for the Take It Down. Now it's a law now. It went from an act to a law that was signed in the Rose Garden at the White House just a mere few weeks ago. And I want to thank Senator Ted Cruz from the great state of Texas for being a champion, for listening, taking Ellison Berry, one of the individuals, but one of the most vocal individuals and confident and brave individuals that share their story of having a photo or two on Instagram turned into a nude photo by an AI program by somebody at their school. And they didn't know, Ellison didn't know until she showed up to school the next day. And people are, chit chatting and she's wondering what's going on. And so, Senator Ted Cruz, you were and are the champion of getting this legislation from nothing to the Take It Down Act to now the Take It Down law. Now it's a federal law. And so what does that mean? It means big tech has to take down altered images, not just for Taylor Swift and people with money like you, Scott. It's not just for you, it's for everybody, all United States citizens. So big tech has to do that within 48 hours, take down those pictures. It just has to happen. That's the law. You might not like the law, but that's the law. Thank you, President Trump, for that. Thank you, Senator Cruz. Thank you, Amy Klobuchar. It's bipartisan. And also, not just the photos have to be taken down in that period of time, but individuals that are doing the dirty deed of changing these photos, uploading without permission, taking purely innocent pictures or what were perceived as private pictures. And so these individuals are able to now be prosecuted as well. So Ellison Berry, we've had, we want to say again, thank you for your brave and courageousness to step forward to be on our show a couple of times, to be on a episode actually next Wednesday, where the whole world's going to see our conversation with Ellison and her mom, see the pen that President Trump used to sign the Take It Down Act into the Take It Down law. Nothing but love and support from us to Elliston, to Senator Cruz, to Miss Anna, to her father, Mr. Mark, uh, all the way again to the White House. So that's a little bit of a long way to get to our guest. But we have Amanda Solomon with us again, part two, and she has actually been a victim as well uh, to something that could be actually considered against the Take It Down law. So Amanda, thank you for listening to that elongated intro. How are you impacted?
Thank you. First, let me start off with saying, yes, thank you for everybody that participated in the Take It Down Act. I never thought I would personally see something like this come into action. So, everybody that was involved with that, I want to thank you. Um, so, how I have been impacted. Um, in the first episode, you got to hear how my son had been impacted by public safety and the internet and how people have exploited him. And now this episode is going to be more of my turn and how
Mhm.
I have been exploited. And I will start off with when my son was exploited, I was exploited as well. The same video, which, I had stated, we are a normal average family, never was in paparazzi until I had met my now husband. So being an average person, you know, nobody thinks of you don't have money to fight to have stuff taken down, and you don't think that there's going to be images of you posted because you're a nobody. Um, but when it came to defending my husband, I was one. I had used an AI image that took my face and it put it on a different body, and they took the picture and ran it through and said, oh, look, she's on a porn website. Which, a little background, my ex husband was addicted to porn after having a stroke. And that's actually what broke our marriage because porn he became addicted. And he then started trying to accuse my son, which was 6 at the time, of being the reason behind it. And so I was not going to allow him I was standing up for our son. And that's when I decided that the marriage was off. There was no working through that. Um, your father should not be exposing you and making you the blame that, a 6-year-old is looking up specific porn stars' names, not just porn itself, but there were specific names, which a 6-year-old cannot spell. So moving on, then when I defended my husband and his victim, and they did a video on me stating that I'm a porn star. And the same time, I was finding out that I had Pornhub charges on my account for almost $3,000. It ended up being $2,958 exactly.
Mm.
And this is all coming out the same week that this video was made. And like I had just said, dealing with my ex-husband, I would never allow that. I would never even condone. And so I have these charges. So I call my bank.
Mm.
And I'm finding out they said, we're going to send you a code to your phone number. And they said the phone number ends in O dot dot dot.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that's not my phone number. And this is the only bank account I've ever had. I've never changed my phone number. I did a background search on the one person that has been harassing my husband. And sure enough, the last 4 digits match the same number that the bank just asked me was my phone number. So that was proof that this man that has been harassing my husband is now harassing me. And all because I am married to him, all because I'm connected to him, all because I know him. And that's it. I was also in the middle of my divorce. My mother had contacted me telling me that this man, Brian Davis, deserves to have custody of my son.
What? Oh,
Yeah, this man.
you don't know that kind of come out of the blue.
Yeah. And considering a little background, when my son was 6 weeks old, I was working for a daycare. I was returning back to work, and I was in a room full of 12 infants, and my son was in my room with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a toddler, he was 18 months old, walk on my son while I'm changing diapers, and nobody was there to help me. 6 weeks old, their body's still fragile. I'm freaking out. They told me I had nothing to freak out about. And I told my husband at the time, Ryan's biological father, that I quit my job and I refuse to ever put him in another harmful situation like that again, which
Yeah.
then included that whole porn accusing. So when my ex-husband did that, I said, nope, we're not doing this. I stuck my ground. So I never put my kid in that harm's way again. So when I'm getting charged for porn that isn't mine, and I have a phone number on here that isn't mine, and I'm finding out it's all because I'm supporting my husband, who I'm witnessing autism. I'm witnessing the trauma he's been through. Obviously, something has happened. Um, I'm watching the trauma. And for another adult, this man, he's in his 70s. And I'm told by my own mother that this man deserves custody of my kid.
Mm.
This man that has never met my son. I never even heard of the man until I met my now husband. There's something wrong here.
Major.
So, I start questioning my mother's sanity. I'm questioning this man who just randomly wants custody of my kid What does a 70-some-year-old man want to do with a 6-year-old? And it can't be anything good.
And they have their own family. So it's
Yes.
also for our viewers and listeners, it's not a situation that they don't have children of their own. They
Yes.
do.
They have their own children. They're adult children, so they have grandchildren as well. There is no reason to want my child unless it's for predatory reasons. So, um, we have that to deal with. So it's not the fact that I had become this person's enemy. This person seeked me out, and this person had a vendetta because of my husband and used me. And I became a victim, and I had no business. It doesn't matter if you were mad at my husband.
Mm-mm.
The thing is people don't realize that, like, you can have your own life in separate accounts.
Mm-hmm.
My husband is not connected to anything of mine. So to go into my own bank account and change my phone number to yours and want my child that has nothing to do with my husband, you are now attacking the wrong person and you're crossing into that legal lines. Like, I don't care what kind of past you had with him before,
Mm-hmm.
but a child has their own safety. I should have my own safety. If you have a vendetta, that's fine and wonderful. But now you're going into victims here and innocent lives. And this is where innocent people are harmed, killed, beaten. I mean, this is where human trafficking takes a whole turn. My kid would have never been in the view of this man, all because of just meeting my husband. And it can happen to anybody. Just
Anybody.
like we stated in the first episode, it can happen to you, it could happen to anybody. And now, just because you associate with somebody, all of a sudden you become a victim. Kind of fast forward, I have another situation as well.
Please.
Um, so I was in a relationship in high school with a guy I thought I was going to marry. And everything was great and wonderful, until I happened to notice some abuse red flag signs.
Mm.
Um, his name is Kevin Cappity. He got into an accident. It was his senior year of high school. I had graduated a year or two before. And he flipped his truck. We didn't think he was going to make it.
Oh.
And within a month or two, he ends up buying a whole brand new truck. He thought that when I told him I was moving up and trying to get a full-time job, I was going to go to school, get my own first credit card to start getting credit so we can settle down, establish ourselves. He said
Mm-hmm.
no.
Mm.
And I'm like, why? He wouldn't give me a reason. I ended up getting my very first cell phone that had a contract. He didn't like that either. He didn't like the fact that I was moving up in the world. It was weird. So I broke it off because I was seeing the abusive signs that he couldn't be better than me. He had to have the truck, he had to have the better job. And then it got to the point where we were only seeing each other once a week. And that once a week determined he was rather hang out with the work people than spend our one time week together. So I ended it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Fast forward, he then within that within the next year or two, he's hitting on my best friend.
Mm.
He's trying to get in contact with me. Um, and while we're together, it was, send me pictures.
Mm.
Well, I was under the impression that to keep him, we had to
Mm-hmm.
send pictures since we were only seeing each other once a week and barely,
Mm-hmm.
so okay. So I did. I thought that's how I was supposed to keep him. And so this was again 17, 18. And fast forward to now, which has been 10, 12, 14 years later. I'm seeing these pictures that I sent when I was 17 on a website
Mm-hmm.
asking for me and if they know of me as the slut.
Huh.
And not all of them were like nude either. They were provocative, sexy, but nothing too, but the fact of I found out that this website they were uploaded to, which was just October of last year. So it's not something that just happened, or happened right after the breakup.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening now, a whole century later. And so it's discriminating, and I found out this website is for revenge porn for people that don't like you.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't like you, they upload these images and they talk bad about you. And I found out that my ex was mad that I broke up with him. And every time I would date somebody, he would try to slide back into my DMs. He'd ask about them. I'd block him. He'd make a new account and keep harassing me. Um, it never got any better. Especially then when I went through my divorce and met my now husband, David. He would constantly harass me, mock me. Um, but it's funny because he would have a girlfriend, and when I would tell her, she'd get mad at me. And I'm like, well, I would figure that you would want to know that stuff like
Mm-hmm.
this is happening. But I find out I'm the bad guy. He was all jealous because I was always with somebody and I wouldn't be with him, but yet he had a girlfriend. So I'm finding out that this happens to anyone and everyone. Um, they will take images of you. They could be innocent and they make you out to look like you're something you're not. And I have tried, especially YouTube, making this video about me with
Mm-hmm.
Brian Davis, stating that I am a porn star and I work for porn. And gee, if I had that kind of money, I don't think I'd be living the life I'm living.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And
but
also you're getting contacted by random people too because your
yes,
number
when
was leaked and all
yes,
of these things.
they took my phone number and posted it, and they claimed to say that David had used this phone number as a hack number, but in
Hmm.
reality, that's the phone number that I've been running my business on,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where all my editing and all my contacts come through. And of course, when my phone number got uploaded to the YouTube, um, because they thought they were harassing David, I was having men calling my phone, breathing
Mm-hmm.
heavily, and they'd sit there and do nothing but breathe until either they would hang up or I would hang up. And again, you know, you think you're harassing somebody, but you're not, and you're harassing an innocent victim. Uh, let's also add the fact at the same time, because allegations and rumors were made that, oh, because I'm a porn star, I'm a drug addict too.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to deal with drug searches, we had to deal with drug testing, all this stuff because I had my son. And the minute that I would test positive, I would lose him.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it never happened because I never touched drugs in my life,
Right.
and neither has David. So I don't have to worry about that. But
they still
It's
have to go through that.
and that's what victims deal with.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's disgusting, and you never think it's going to happen to you until it does.
Yeah, you're very brave to be talking and sharing your story experiences because it's it's I mean it's hard and I hearken to my mental health and that and going to therapy and at the beginning and then even before that I didn't want to do it. I thought I could
Mm-hmm.
handle everything and I couldn't, and then actually once I came to it, uh, I was finding that I was at least, even if it was like 1% more freed up in my mind to look at things in a more positive way, in a more productive, not a harmful way of the past that you know alcohol
Yeah.
and occasional drug use and that
We don't realize how much mental health impacts our physical well-being as well.
and how and there's no and what I've found and I think you as well that number one people say oh we just power through it and get through it. It's like
Not always
yeah,
that easy.
not always, uh, and then it's not always the symptoms that a person would think of. The trauma can resurface for it could be a song, it could be a name, it could be a picture that could
Mm-hmm.
kind of trigger that additional trauma
Even a
and
date.
anything, yeah, a day reading an article, seeing a picture, somebody that's going through something similar, and it's like, oh my gosh, and then you're thinking, oh, and then like you said, with like a song, it's like, oh well, this was these things that start connecting, and so you're brave to be able to talk about these things because I mean it's they're when we talk about these types of things, I mean they're sensitive, they're
Well,
personal.
I'm always one to keep stuff to myself. I'm not one to I'm an internal person. That's what I think David and I work so well.
Hmm.
David is a more social bird. I'm not. I'm the type that you'll be sitting at breakfast and I'm like, don't talk to the person next to you, mind your business.
Yeah,
They're enjoying themselves, like just mind your business.
mind your business.
But then I watch him interact with people and he'll be like, I made a friend. And I'm just like, how? Like,
How?
he's like, but you got to actually talk to people. And I'm like, nope, nope.
Hmm.
Like, I'll stay in my bubble. But like, because I'm safe that way. And
Hmm.
I'm learning through these years of trauma, through this ex, Kevin, he, like I stated, he keeps making accounts.
Hmm.
Actually, around the time that this whole porn stuff started, I had, go figure, a name asking me about my boudoir photo shoot that I did. I did one for my ex husband years ago.
Hmm.
And this one person seemed to know that I did it, my ex, Kevin Cappity. And it's ironic that a Byron Mavis, just
Mm.
like the name Brian Davis, how
Oh.
ironic, messages me about getting access to these pictures and harassing me. And I started thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? The more I live in the shadows, the more I get to deal with this. And if I actually come out and talk about it, there are
Hmm.
other people dealing with this too.
Yeah. And that's what I've found too. And it's incredible. You know, somebody could be, you know, thinking about ending their life, and they hear or see somebody share and go, "Oh, I thought I was the only one going through this," or I know somebody, and uh, maybe I can, you know, just share this episode or this particular segment or this minute or two that talks about it and says, you know, you're not alone. And then one of our previous videos we put out, I was watching an Imagine Dragons concert, and Dan Reynolds, the lead singer, uh, just stops the concert, you know, midway, and he talks about his mental health, how important therapy is for him, and has been, uh,
And these
and,
people are big people. You would
and these
think
are
that
big
they don't need
people.
mental health,
Yeah,
but
yeah. You think, yeah, they got the money, the cars, the whatever, they got all these things, and that's why I wanted to do the video to say, you know, hey, thanks for, you know, doing this, because if somebody's at a concert of theirs, out of the 100,000 or 30,000, they're going to be an individual that's going through something and thinking about, you know,
absolutely.
these thoughts, and just the mere fact that, like, oh my gosh, no, like, yeah, life's worth living. And the more I, you know, the more I share, the more whatever, you know, we start to feel just a little bit better. Um,
And
we
I
got
think what a oh
we got like 20 seconds left, so I'm sorry.
no, it was
It,
good. It's just people are scared to share their stuff, and I mean, I was scared to speak out before,
mhm,
but living with a husband that has been traumatized for years over his own thoughts and feelings, and
mhm,
I can't stand to sit here and stay quiet anymore.
yeah. And so thank you for that. Thank you for, yeah, the part one and this part.